Roundtable, part of the Pizza Club Network. Every week, we cover the biggest news stories in the pizza world. I'm your host, Will Dumas, and I'm joined by my guest host, Jim Mumford. Jim is both a cookbook author and a writing contributor for the media publication Inside Hook. Jim, what's up, man? I might be doing better than you. How are you doing? Well, at least you look to be in good spirits. I'll say that from a starting point. It is an interesting lighting setup, I will say. I'm creepily watching for something to kind of like come behind you in the background. I don't know what it's going to be, but if, if there's a shadowy figure, I'll let you know, okay, just in case. All right, dude, let's do it. Well, listen, if I was in your position, I don't know what I would be doing actually from a pizza perspective. I
Mm,
wouldn't. Yeah, I'm doubtful there's other pizzerias around you that are open. Do you have the
yeah,
ability? Would you have the ability to make a frozen pizza at this time?
you could throw one on the grill. I'd try it. Probably try it tomorrow night.
Okay, all right. So we could do a frozen pizza. So maybe we'll start off talking about
Maybe.
frozen pizzas then, Jim. Um, First article up today coming out of PMQ. Here's why starting a frozen pizza brand is such a major challenge. This one interests me. I think there's a lot of just man roadblocks in here, and I'll,
Oh
I'll
yeah.
preface this with like in general this article's a hybrid, right? It's talking about kind of getting in store shelves and whatnot, but I think I'd say it's fair to say we've heard a number of owners kind of talk about the idea of doing frozen pizza right at their own shop, right?
Right.
Maybe they have excess capacity. They're like, hey, let me do a little frozen pizza business, right? Whether they could be selling out of their store or they'd be coming looking to distribute. Let's talk about some of the challenges.
Yeah.
So, kind of first off, I guess in that one, start off with the main topic, man. A
It,
pricey battle for
it,
shelf space.
my goodness. Yeah. I didn't realize. Like I thought it would be competitive. I didn't realize how like to the penny cutthroat competitive shelf space would be. And it makes sense, right? You're in a freezer, right? This isn't true shelf space. This is, a coveted expensive area. But boy, that scared me alone. What about you? Right? I mean,
Seriously, I mean, I thought about from a competition perspective of just getting your spot out there. But I mean, when you think about it of being someone maybe who's who's independent, right, trying to get into
oh
your
yeah.
local chain, maybe, but trying to grow that and get past that, dude, it sounds like an uphill battle to say the least, right? And
Yeah.
how you gauge the capacity that you could do from that perspective, right? Like, what if it's like a busy night, man? Like, I'm like, oh, I can't actually produce anything, so that's gonna impact a month later, right? Like thinking
Oh
about it
yeah.
that way, but like,
And
jeez.
and we talk about it, but the logistics, right? It's not just from shop to consumer. It's shop to freezer, the freezer truck to distributor. So the logistic chain is also something that I think, it I never sat and thought about it, but what a complex world just to start in.
I'm with you, right? If they quickly talk about PMQ highlights kind of like the idea of shelf space, but not even just thinking about like once you get it, you got it. It's like once you get it, you got to keep it, right? So on top of that, it's like promotion behind it, right? But I mean, in general, some of the other challenges that have come up, they've kind of come up and noted here. Packaging cost, right? You're kind of
Yeah.
highlighting the idea of having a USDA certified co-packer, right, or co-packing facility to be able to actually produce your packaging correctly. Storage and shipping costs, stiff competition, finding a business
Yeah.
partner. All right, it's a capital intensive business as well as a product, right? So you need to put it out there,
Right.
build inventory, and there's a lot to that, man. I'm just like, it's overwhelming, when you actually think about it from that perspective. And I wonder if it's worth it for anyone that's really kind of getting into it if you're not a major brand out there already. It seems like a tough uphill
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah, I agreed. Last week we talked about Costco, right? How we were underwhelmed with the Kirkland line, how many
Yes.
frozen pies. And now looking at this, it makes sense why. It's capital intensive, right? You're taking shelf space from other people who are probably going to pay you more than what you're going to get, right? So, okay, that's why Kirkland hasn't gone hard to paint with frozen pizza. They don't have to. Right? The money's not there. So this was a fun one to kind of close the loop. I'm glad. I know you brought it up for that reason, but it was
Yeah.
definitely good because we were wondering where that gap was. Here it is, right here, the missing piece. Here's what we didn't understand.
Makes sense, man. And now I think about it
Mhm.
too, even when it's not the Costco aisle, right? When I think about just like my local grocer, right? Whatever kind of big
Yeah,
brand grocer that you're going to, there's a lot of frozen pizza offerings. I'm not gonna lie that I see there. Even just standing out and getting noticed, even if the stars aligned, you got the capacity, you hit the packaging, you produce the pies, right? Putting it up there, it's still gotta sell, right, man? And that
still
aisle
gotta
just
sell.
looks like you're walking down there. It's like pizza, 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 right? Like
Right,
how do you make
right.
that pop, man?
How you and oh by the way, frozen pizza, right? To get out of the traditional frozen pizza, do a Detroit, that's hard, right? It's hard to package. It's hard to make it taste good. It's one thing to even get home, but then you got to get repeat business. So, yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the I need pizza frozen pizza wing anytime soon. Unfortunately, sorry everyone. It's just gonna be direct to consumer, I think, only.
I'm interested now thinking about this, Jim. Do you think Domino's ever gotten into the frozen pizza game in any sort of way? What do you think they thought about there? Since we're
You
always
you
talking
know that
about Domino's,
Yeah,
right?
they've done their research, right? They've started. We've got extra capacity. We've got franchisees. They've dabbled, but clearly, right? They're not in that game. If you look at who makes 90% of the pizza, it's the same people who do all the other frozen foods, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a challenge. But listen, I'd buy a Domino's frozen pie. I think anyone would.
I'm interested in it, right? I mean, as I think of like
Yeah,
who we talk about all the time of like just like such a great marketing campaign for the most part, right? A promotion in
mhm.
general. That's what you need to kind of get picked off the shelves, which kind of would
Yeah,
make sense. You make a lot of pizza, it also kind of makes sense, but I haven't seen it happen. I don't know. So listen, if anyone else has heard the rumblings before or had a good story about the Domino's inside look, or how it didn't work out, or what they thought about, let us know. I'm happy to hear
absolutely.
it.
Eh, But with that, I wonder when we've got, your Casey's and your Hunts brothers who make a frozen pie and ship, why aren't they on retail shelves, right? Because you're 90% of the way there. You don't really need the marketing because you've got in place. So I'm wondering, right, maybe that's something we see where Casey's offers frozen brands of what they have and starts it.
Ooh.
That I think could be the next iteration. It would probably make sense.
Stay
Just a
tuned.
thought.
All right. All
Mhm.
right. Something to watch out for. All right. Well, listen, thinking about frozen pizza, let's pivot for a second to think about consuming more pizza.
Oh,
Frozen,
good.
not frozen, doesn't make a difference to me. Let's take a look and head over to the New York Post with a story about a gentleman that has been eating pizza every day for 6 years. People call me crazy, but I'm healthy and happy. So, a Connecticut man who claims to love pizza more than anything else in the world has been scarfing down at least a slice a day for 6 years. Sources say that's a pun on sources there with the Post. And the peace loving paisano has no plans to slow down, even swinging a delicious career change that's thanks to his deep dish zest for za. So apparently, the gentleman he works in a like a heating and cooling system, and he's like, I don't get a lot of time for lunch. I get a quick stop all the time. One of the guys on the truck essentially dared him, right? I can dare you every day to eat a piece of pizza. He's like, I started out with a week, I went to a month, I went to a year, and then I've never stopped and I've never missed. So, Jim, what do you think, man? Could you eat a slice a day, a pie a day? What could you
I mean, I'd hate to cut back, but I could try.
do?
Um, no, I love it. So I've been following him on Instagram for a long while. I think it's K
Oh,
Wild,
really?
right? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've been following Connecticut Pizza Man since he was on like day like 30.
Oh,
And
nice.
he's an awesome follow. Oh, it's fun, right? And it's always different styles. It's not just like the same slice. And I don't know. I think it's a fun thing to do. And some point he's going to have to hang up the Cal Ripken esque streak, but go for it. And listen, there are no good or bad foods. Any food in moderation. And I'm not a nutritionist, but if you pair that with other things, it sounds like he works a lot, right? It's not like he's sitting on his behind all day. So it's
True.
cool. I've been following for a while, and it's fun. It's kind of fun to just see what he does every day, and I think he's on the like $2,500 or something just ridiculous. Yeah, right. If you think about where you were in life that far ago.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's some weight behind it then. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems fun, like in general, right? Like, hey, man, I'll have a slice a day. It's a cool thing. But I mean, I kind of think that he's probably actually dedicated to this, and I a good feeling this man didn't actually miss a day at all. It seems like
No.
he's really committed.
Oh yeah. Let's say you follow his Instagram. He's committed. He travels. This isn't a haphazard thing. I think he's definitely committed to the bit, and what a delicious bit to be committed to, right?
He does note as well that, considers himself fairly thin, which I love. He looks like a thin guy,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But hey, he's maybe the shining image of the new pizza diet, right? The new Zod diet.
I can't. It's moderate carb, high cheese diet. It's going to be sweeping the nation soon.
I think everyone wishes it would. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's talk promotion for a second about one pizzeria that's not Domino's, right? Since we're always talking about them.
Is that allowed?
This one out of 614 now. Local pizzeria hides more than 75 free large pizza vouchers throughout the community. While some say there's no such thing as a free lunch, they just may not be looking hard enough. According to Molly Finch, the marketing director for the Dublin's Marco's Pizza, the eatery has hidden dozens of free pizza vouchers throughout their community. They've hidden approximately 80 magnets, and if you find one, it's going to grant you a free pie. So I'll start out with this, Jim. I think the promo's cool, like totally cool idea. Not going to lie, nowadays, I feel like, I don't know if I would be worried about hiding things throughout my community. Somebody's gonna have a problem with it. Someone's gonna call it litter. Maybe I caused someone like an accident because I hid it in a tree. I feel like the liability for this is endless, and I so feel bad that it's my first direction to think about. Like it seems cool, but I feel like someone's gonna have an issue with this, but I don't even know why.
Yeah, I had that initial thought. So I have a friend who lives in Dublin. I actually asked him about it, and I think the majority of locations are like in businesses, partner businesses. They put one with permission.
Okay.
Right. So it's not just on a park bench. You're not putting it on your electrical box and putting people in harm's way.
Exactly
right.
What I'm thinking. Yes.
Because that was my first thought. No, I think they're partnering with businesses and they've got permission, which again, if that's the case, how brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Community involvement, right? People find the magnet. And I love viral marketing. It costs them 80 pizzas, which is probably what they write off. I mean, it's nothing, but just it's fun, right? Geocaching is kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
If you're into that, so it's kind of a version of geocaching. So I'm disappointed Domino's hasn't thought of it first, and that's cool, right? I mean, Marco's we don't talk about, right? But it is a chain. No. It's one of the big ones, and maybe they got to do more stunts like this to kind of rise up.
There's actually a Marco's right near me, to tell you the truth. But it's funny that we both kind of thought a similar thing, which I feel is almost just like it's one of the downsides nowadays, where you're kind of just like, shit, this sounds like an interesting promo, and I'm worried about who's going to get annoyed about it, what kind of liability it's going to call someone, instead of like the cool upside, right? Like I think it's cool too, but I'm also like, oh man, I don't know if that was my spot. I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that just because of someone's going to have a problem with it, right? And you're just like, oh man, who knows what you make the news for nowadays? What do? You make it for hiding 80 magnets.
Yeah, that's what you do. Or someone moves it right and puts it in a precarious place, and now it's and now you got
yes, exactly.
I'm with
That's
you.
A good point. I didn't even think about that when someone finds it and then puts it in like the middle of the crosswalk, right? And then someone's like, "Well, look at this," and took a video of it, right, or something horrible like that. So, it's open ended, man. Good luck. I hope the promo goes well. I hope the promo goes well. Yes, do not
goes
use
well
that.
and swiftly.
Do not use that.
This is not legal advice, but don't hit anybody with your car. Yeah,
exactly. Please. All right. Well, let's talk about some pizza winners for a second.
Like you and me, or other pizza winners.
Other pizza winners. Yes, absolutely. And so, no better way to have a pizza win the day than to have like a hip hop feud, if I want to say that, right? From that perspective, this is Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. In general, apparently they're both dropping diss tracks against each other. I don't know, whatever the beef was, or I probably could have used a better pizza pun instead of beef in there, but you get where I'm going. In general, I think it was Drake who dropped the track, and then Kendrick Lamar came back with a track on top of that. But anyway, nonetheless, Lamar's track referenced Lucali as in the track itself, and apparently not that Lucali needs more business, but the Brooklyn Pizzeria has seen a surge in support after appearing in a diss track from Kendrick Lamar. So, Jim, Kendrick and Drake, two of your favorite artists, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the tattoos, and yeah, you knew. No, I have done a great job avoiding this entirely. But now that it's crossed over in the pizza world, I have no choice but to pick a side. Um, I think it is silly though how mentioning a pizzeria in a
Yep.
diss track that viral is going to have an actual impact on like a family business. Like it's wonderful and ridiculous all in the same time, right?
I will note Mark Iacono, right, who's the owner of Locali, the quoted here from Eater, wasn't aware of the feud between Lamar and Drake until a few days before he was in the middle of it. Although a couple of his customers had mentioned the rapper's dispute, he said it has been business as usual at the pizzeria. We're 17 years in, he says the lines are long as ever. So, in
Great.
general, I don't know, interesting. Mark wasn't aware either, right, from that perspective. So
Yeah,
you're not on the outside, Jim. You're all right, buddy.
thank goodness. I am just not on this one.
I will shout out. I am a big fan of Locali's. I'll leave it
Oh yeah.
there. So
I
it's,
thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna pick a side in the rap battle. I'm like I cannot
I
continue
can't.
to
I
this
can't. I
conversation.
can't. They're too different, man. Listen, I think Kendrick's a great lyricist. Like in general, Drake's got a lot of poppy tracks that I've definitely gotten down to in the club and hanging
Sure.
out before. So I lean both ways, man. I could go with everybody. I like to be in the middle and make everybody happy, right? So.
Very diplomatic as always.
Oh yes. Thank you. Well, let's go on the opposite spectrum of potentially being diplomatic. The next one up, more celebrity pizza news, and I didn't think there possibly could be even more. To tell you the truth, but
Okay, so
apparently, go ahead.
this might be my favorite article we'll ever cover. I'm just
Go
going to
ahead.
preface it right there.
You can tell me about it, man. Guys, in general, this one I'm reading from Sportster. Ric Flair wages online war with Florida-based pizza restaurant. Ric Flair
Yeah.
started an online war with, of all things, a Florida-based pizza restaurant, which has responded to allegations they kicked him out. Apparently, in quick summary, something happened at the pizzeria where there was some kind of confrontation apparently between Rick and the kitchen, and he's claiming he was thrown out after spending was it $1,500 at the
Yeah,
pizzeria.
something just I don't know how you do that, but okay, yeah.
Take it away, man. Are you a Ric Flair fan? Are you a Ric Flair fan to start off?
I am, of course, right? I mean, what red-blooded American isn't a Ric Flair fan? Probably most, but I love it because again, it's like Mad Libs for headlines, right? Blank did blank with blank. Ric Flair has an online war with a Florida-based pizza, right? Like it's perfect. And they've got him on video, and then he's clapped back, and then pizzeria sales boom. Just it's perfect. It's the perfect storm, and the pizza looks great. Like it looks like a good Cuban style pie. So
yeah.
Listen, I love every bit of it, and thank goodness Ric Flair has crossed over into the pizza universe. Our prayers have been answered.
We're looking for more contributions from Rick in the near future.
Always.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. But in general for this, I know I didn't even get through too many of the details yet. Apparently, like Rick put out a side of the story, right, about this pizza restaurant. And I guess apparently the restaurant has a dispute to that and is providing some sort of video evidence to counter
Receipts.
the argument. They brought the receipts to counter the argument that Rick put forward.
And good on them, honestly, for not just like collapsing or caving. Just like no, like we did what we had to do, and just it was perfect. Like whoever wrote this, like I'm gonna have some fun with some stock photos. We're gonna go hard to the paint.
I hope the story gets more attention, sheerly from the well, I guess Twitter, but now X, right? Kind of feed that would pop up for people kind of photoshopping these images with like pizzas and items into it. This could be one of those that like takes off. I'm hopeful to see Ric Flair holding a pizza and then screaming some stuff out. Oh, there we go! Look at that! Come on, balloons, let's get there. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll go that far, but it could be a fun one.
or hey, Domino's, Casey's. Now you got to do a commercial with Ric Flair, right? There are opportunities here. and as I'm pleading the pizza world to please take them, because nothing says eat pizza like a '90s era wrestler. '90s, '80s, '90s.
I would say I think early '90s, late '80s, right in that
Yeah.
realm, something like that. I'm with you there, but always interesting to see like these restaurants and how they come together. But listen, whether who's wrong or right, at least they've gotten some airtime for it, right? And they're getting some
Right.
traction. I don't think Rick is missing any meals with the dispute of the pizzeria. I'm sure he's still doing just fine. So, all right.
Unlike the flashlight rig that just collapsed behind me, which is now this is real ominous. Now this is straight out of I'm waiting for Ric Flair to pop out now.
Well, I think kind of fitting right now, Jim. Maybe we should talk about slicers, since I feel like we're going to be in a slasher film coming up soon.
That's
someone
your
someone
best segue.
popping
That's
behind
great.
you. So this one is out of a publication I'm not familiar with, betweencarpools.com. Which pizza slicer is best? It might be a tool you bring out only on Thursday nights, unless you love meat pizzas too, but a good pizza slicer can make the task easier than others. So, Jim, I'll start with you first, man. How many different pizza type cutting devices do you have, and do you even have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the over-under at 6. I'm going to let you guess over or under.
I think you have under 6.
No, I have 9. And I absolutely do have a favorite. I have 3 blades, 5 wheels, and 1 set of pizza shears.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm thinking like different types. Like if you're saying cutter wheel, like I can understand you having a bunch. I'm more so thinking like like different types of cutting. Utilities items.
Right. There's 3. There's a wheel, there's a scissors, and then there's the fun slasher film.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I don't know. It goes on to talk about their different favorites, but each style of pizza needs a different style of cutter, right? You're not going to do a tavern style with if you do it with this, it's so crispy it'll blow. You need the wheel. You use shears on basically quad say style only, right? And then Sicilians need the blade. So it's fun. I think people lose sight of how kind of important those are and how great they are in the kitchen. Outside of just pizza, right? I use them for everything. Slicing herbs or even like doing tomatoes and soft things. So I don't know, it's fun. The article certainly goes into their favorites, but really it's just buy a good quality wheel. I think you're set, right?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would highlight that there's definitely a difference between I would say some of the scissors, right? Kind of for the most part, so that I kind of appreciate the ones with a bit of an underside to like get underneath where it's not, and they're also angled, right? I think, which also I know you mentioned, but like would work great. I think for some of the true Neapolitan pies, if they're not bad, they're kind of convenient to cut with the scissor, right? But having that at least angled. Maybe you don't need the underside, but if you're just going out with like poultry shears, it's a lot harder to get the pie. Right? So you kind of do need a little bit of an angle to it. I know it seems like I don't need a unitasker, but there's plenty of other dough particular items you might be able to cook with. We cut with one with those kind of angled shears, so I would say they're fair to have.
I've used those as poultry shears all the time because you're not putting your whole hand right in everything, and you can do other things. It's easier to cut. So if you got like a truss piece of meat, right? So I agree. These aren't unitaskers at all. Good Eats reference, by the way.
Absolutely, unitasker. All right.
Yeah.
Dude, one of my favorite shows, Jim, ever is Good Eats. Like literally love Alton Brown, man. I'm all for it.
Yeah, same. And I think we could devote a show. And listen, if Alton wants to come on and talk pizza,
absolutely,
we'd be honored.
If I could make a heart,
send an invite.
If I could make a heart, I got it!
We got it! Oh, what a show! What a show we got!
I actually forced is a strong word, right? But like convinced my wife one day to go to one of the Alton Brown live shows many years ago. Actually, at I forget where it was in NYC. I had a blast. I loved it, man. I hope he comes to Charlotte. I'd love to go back and watch one.
I've been twice, and they're all great. He made pizza in one of them, and it was cool. And made pizza with I think for stage lights.
Damn. Okay. I did. Come on back home. Do some more pizza.
Come on back.
All right. Well, listen, thinking about some kind of unitaskers, and I'll say it in a negative way. Heard a lot of news, right, and a push, and I don't mean to make like we're taking a side on it about the kind of idea that a lot of these operators in New York are having to kind of meet some emissions requirements and having to install filters, right, essentially on
Scrubbers
top
and
of the
yeah,
pizzeria, right? Simple task for this is, to clean the environment from that perspective, or at least reduce pollutants that are coming from coal or wood fired ovens,
yeah.
right? I mean, that's the request
That
that's out there,
that
and like
what's
there
out
you
there. We're
go.
not changing
That's
it.
what that is what it is. And so the article here, and sorry, let me preface it with saying I think we've read a number of stories about it. The Times also just had a feature on them about like kind of the implications of how you do it, how onus it is potentially on owners, maybe some of the time frame for it to get implemented, which I think they said would probably be 2025 when people actually start to look to enforce it potentially. People are kind of just looking to try to see if you're going to get to it, get in line with it for the meantime. But on a bright note about it, this one out of BK Reader, grants available for pizza store owners to meet new emissions rules. Grubhub and the Greg Hill Foundation's Restaurant Strong Fund will provide funds to help pizza owners make a green transition. So, in general, grants are available for $5,000 for restaurants that are going to apply. You must be an open restaurant that's currently operating in New York City, have recently updated or will soon update kitchen equipment to meet your guidelines essentially for going green, and then must provide a detailed plan of how the grant will be used and how funding will help make operations more environmentally friendly. So I'll note,
Yeah.
happy to see some getting some funds, and
Yeah.
I was concerned when I was reading it too. I was like, I don't want to say concerned, but like, is there going to be a Grubhub plug for this where it's like, and you sign a
And you
one
have
year
to use Grubhub,
exclusivity
and
contract right with like Grubhub? But I didn't see that in there. Listen,
no.
this is only what was conveyed from BK Reader. There could be more fine print. I don't know yet, but like that's what popped up. So I'm interested to see if anyone else is going to apply for it or use it or why not, right?
I think it's wonderful. I mean, this could save some businesses, right? I mean, that amount of
Yeah,
capital to install right away, especially if you're starting up ultra competitive, you just started a frozen pizza, wing, right? It this is important, right? And to change regulation without understanding economic impact is hard. So to not only give people the money, but also give them tools. Of here's what you buy, and it looks like there was some roadmaps and guidance with it. I think this is
yeah,
wonderful. And I think it is pretty altruistic, right? I didn't see any hooks, which I was again kind of waiting to see where the other shoe dropped, just like you. But
yep,
I didn't see any. I hope there aren't. I'm really pulling for a lot of these pizzerias who have to change what they've been doing for decades.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you there. Um, okay, well, yeah, I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy to see. Right,
Absolutely.
someone maybe some
Happy
relief is coming. Maybe some relief is coming. Every little bit helps. Doesn't matter,
every
right?
little
So
bit. Oh
that's for
yeah.
sure. Well, not that I think like the emission issue is going to cause enough of a pizza storm or a pizza war across the world. This week, Chicago Eater is talking about bringing back pizza wars potentially,
Let's go.
right? And this is Will. So from out of Chicago Eater, will Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert's summer visit to Chicago reignite the pizza wars? The Daily Show and The Late Show will be in town for the Democratic National Convention. So, as anyone remembers, Jon Stewart, it probably was a number of years ago now, man. I want to say like
Yeah, it was like a
10 years ago.
decade. Yeah.
Sorry, it was 2013.
2013, right? Yeah.
Waged a pizza war against deep dish. I listen. I think love to the love of all New Yorkers and to the despise of Chicago residents at the time. But I don't know. I'm interested to see it come back, and for Colbert connection being, I think he was a Chicago resident for 10 years or so, or at
Second
least for
City, yeah.
yeah. So for a long time, they're both going to be out there. I don't know, man. Do we see Pizza Wars come back? What do you think? Do you
No,
want to
I
see
don't
them?
think
Do you want to see them?
not really, because I don't think Chicagoans really, they're not going to defend deep dish pizza like you want them to, right? As a
Yeah.
former Chicagoan, right? We always say that's the pizza we go to when you come into town and we need to entertain you, right? It's not the tavern style, it's not the homegrown places that we think of. So I don't know. I don't think, and they're so different, right? Why compare two great things and say one's better? They are not comparable. They are So I don't think we need it, right? And listen,
I'm with
if
you.
it's all in fun, I'm here for it. And I'd love to see a Chicago place like Pequod's do a New York slice just to troll people. That could be fun.
I would be
So I
cool.
don't.
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. I think that's probably. I know we talk about it all the time, right? But in case anyone is new in that perspective, I think it's one of the underestimated things when people think about Chicago. I'll quote here from Eater as well. The terrain is different now from Eater. I'll quote quickly. The terrain is different now with Chicago embracing thin crust tavern style pizza and somewhat shunning deep dish pizza, casting it as a rare indulgence. So I think that's a bit newer, right? When people think of Chicago, at least for the
yeah.
most part, you're thinking deep dish. If you were not involved in pizza in any sort of way, and you're just like, Chicago, you think deep dish, right? I think the thin crust is coming and catching on, but if you're just like from nostalgia perspective, you're like deep dish. Think about it. So
Yeah.
it's a new thing, man, right? Like Chicago's not necessarily deep dish town anymore. It's always there, right? They live
It's
there,
always
but
there,
it's
but
not. It might not be the shining star anymore. I'll say from that perspective.
yeah, agreed. And I don't think anything's changed from my perspective much in the city. I think it's just the perception how broad
Fair.
tavern style is and understood. And like Chicago, and we've been tavern style for as long as we've been eating deep dish. But I think just like say as different styles are starting to get more popular. But I say, I would love to put any tavern style over any floppy New York slice any day. If you want to go at it, I'll go at it with you personally. But
Oh,
I
okay.
love
All
my
right.
tavern
All right.
style.
I hear you, and I think it's good.
Yeah,
I am gonna stand behind that New York
I
slice
understand.
over
I
it,
understand.
But we'll have to.
I get
Maybe we can go to Chicago and throw down our pizza wares. How's that? That's
but
gonna be the way to settle this. Take the
don't you
gloves
tempt
off.
me. Don't you tempt me. I read somewhere that every pizza you have is compared against that pizza you grew up with, right? And that's exactly what you and I are doing, right? So it's fun. But yeah, come on, Chicago. It's an easy drive for me. It's probably a little more hike for you, but I'll buy the first slice. How about that?
I
That'll make it
appreciate
easy.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like an opening line to a book that could be used as well, there, Jim.
I wonder. It is now, Will. Anyways.
Let's talk. Let's head back to New York for a second. I feel like we've been talking all the time about, at least from a social media perspective, about like pizza sandwiches, right? In
Oh
general,
yeah.
and I feel like I haven't seen a lot of written about them yet, other than like online, right? In general, like I'm
Yeah.
feeling like when you're scrolling your feed on whatever social media app you're on,
All the time.
you see this sandwich, right? Literally, maybe not this exact one, but very similar,
Not
right?
far
Where
off. Yeah.
there's burrata in here, and perhaps this looks more like a prosciutto. It's probably mortadella, right? For the most part, or stracciatella. For the most part, that's gonna be filled with them, and like this is the classic, right? One. You see this sandwich in your feed. Finally, someone's serving it. So Sapta is serving pizza dough sandwiches down on Bleecker Street. This one loaded with burrata, smoked salmon, and more. I was not seeing smoked salmon here, but this could just be that disconnect with the actual photo, right? That's there.
That's if you read the caption, that's not smoked salmon, but I agree.
Interesting from when the titles don't quite match the initial photo that I'm looking to like reinforce, right, with what I just read. Am I off on that from that perspective?
No, from a journalistic perspective, you're not wrong at all.
Okay. Right. I mean, okay. But in general, happy to see the sandwich finally out in the wild that someone's making it. They're available for lunch. I guess in general, so they'll note further down here. You can also get these bagel-esque smoked salmon loaded with cream cheese, tomato, red onion, as well as the Bleecker Street hot dog. Interesting. I wonder what that's going to look like. As well from there. And look, guys, it looks exactly like the uni hot dog we were talking about last week from the recipe.
Almost
slightly different, right? But I mean, in general, like that idea, it's cool to see. So, I mean, I don't know, Sapta, but I'm gonna check them out. I'll tell you that. Maybe we're making the transition from social media to direct menu, right? It could be the case.
It makes sense, right? Now, I'd have to look into how places are making it. If they're par baking the dough, right? I'm assuming they are, and then it's just a quick serve. So this makes a lot of sense for lunch, right? You can, an alternative to the slice. There might be some, business reasons for it, but listen, they're delicious. Probably going to make some here in the next few days if we get power, and
Yeah,
because it's fun, right? You can feel what it is. It's a no fuss calzone. It's better than a sandwich.
Yes.
It's an Italian taco kind of thing. So I love them. But yeah, you're right. It's interesting to see restaurants start to like really steer into them now. And
Yeah.
I think we're broaching on the new trend, right? The new 2024, 2025 thing. I think it's going to be the pizza sandwich. I do.
Listen, I think they look great. I'm just like
Hmm?
so shocked we haven't seen people offering them or getting them featured. Now, listen, I haven't been to every pizzeria. I'm generalizing, right? But just to at least put them in the forefront like that, we're really talking about it from like an actual like this is in my feed and my pages, my For You page is made up of pizza sandwiches and other pizza
Right.
related items for the most part. But I'm not seeing them on restaurant menus yet. At least now I
Now you are. Right.
am. Cool. All right. Let's see. I think we have time for one more, man.
One more. Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. So this one out of the Daily Herald, and this one was, "Are you kidding me?" And it's Algonquin TikToker creates Chicago-style cheesy beef pizza for Pickle House. Are you familiar with Pickle House, Jim? In general,
Yeah, I am. Pickle
tell
House
us
is
about it.
it's a suburb, I would call it establishment. And it's pickleball with a full bar and restaurant, and it's relatively new, but they're riding that wave. And from
Okay.
everyone I hear, it's blast. It's very well done. It's kind of like what was described to me as imagine what a roller rink was 40 years ago, but replace the roller rink with pickleball.
Okay, got it. All right. So I'm playing pickleball, but I'm also eating probably some pretty good food. Perhaps not just like
Absolutely.
not nachos and something else, right? Like
No,
there's
no, no. It's
some
the
real
full
food.
bar. You got it.
Pie looks good, man. I'm down it. I'm down for it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you don't, Italian beef really you don't normally have cheese, but I mean it looks good. It doesn't really look like a Chicago style pie, which is also interesting, right? It's too
Agreed
puffy.
there. Yep.
So there's something there, but again, it looks great. I love the flavor combinations. I listen after a rousing game of pickleball. I'm probably hungry for a nice artisanal pie. So it looks good, and it's again fun to see how the Chicago pie is now morphing right now. That's morphing back to what New York style with
Yep.
kind of the back appropriation, and it's fun. It's not hurting anybody. And listen,
When
you
Go ahead.
this if I'm looking for authentic pizza, it's probably not a pickleball court. So
Fair.
that's the place to kind of have a little fun with it.
I was just gonna say, like a place to have fun with your pies definitely seems like the way for that to go. So I haven't had too many Italian beef sandwiches.
That's your problem.
I know I understand it's a me problem. It's not a you problem.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheese sandwich in any sort of way. It is surely beef.
No.
Is it the spicy like is it jardiniere or is it peppers
Yep.
too? Am I adding right? Like
Both.
that's it.
But
Okay,
both
got
either. Yep. But generally, you can have it with cheese.
it. Hmm.
I don't think most shops you're definitely not going to default with cheese on Italian beef. So that's why I'm like, you don't see that often.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
But
Good to know,
but
man.
that said, Italian beef and giardiniera go great on a pizza, right?
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite things. So it's not unusual. It's just not a combination that I would probably start with, but it works. It
Fair.
does play.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to change my Italian beef orders now, I guess.
You're going to send me your address later, and I got a guy who's going to send you some.
I love it. I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, we hope you get some power back. Thanks for hanging with us tonight, buddy. Where can everybody find you across social media landscape, bud?
In the dark. No, Jim Cooks Food Good, wherever you get your social media, and you'll run into me one way or another.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. Thanks. And guys, for everyone else, please check us out. I Need Pizza Club. Check out our YouTube page. Like, subscribe, find us out there. We've got a ton of content. We've got some other shows out there. We want to hear from you. We want to see you.
Yeah.
Come like us, comment anything. Like, let us know.
Whatever
We're
you
happy to chat pizza. Give us your thoughts. All right.
help us
And
keep
check
the lights on.
Yeah. Boom. Ching. And on that week, check us back for another fully lit episode next week. Thanks all.